Right, Warrington.
Yes, they're in crisis.
They are.
And
Are they in t-shirt crisis?
well, I don't know, are there enough people who would buy a Warrington t-shirt?
They're only in crisis if they lose to Castleford this week, because then they are.
They haven't won away since July.
I know.
Yeah.
And they was it 3 and 15?
They lost
Super
to
League games?
Wakefield. That's how bad they are. Even OKR beat Wakefield.
3 and 15.
Blimey neck.
Richard's face when he said that.
Because I'm like, I agree with what
The problem is though they're at home, so the scrutiny ratchets up.
I don't think it's a nice place to play at the moment because there's a lot of unhappy.
I
Warrington fans.
made a point when I saw, I think we made it the week before, when we knew Widdop was coming back. And we said, what is Steve Price going to do?
Where's he going to play?
His team are playing really well. Is he going to change it? And he changed it. And you look at body language of Austin and of Widdop, and it don't look a happy
Not
camp.
only did he change it, but he brought Widdop in a position that he hasn't been signed for. So I think, again, just because the result was so emphatic, maybe Leeds didn't get enough credit for how well they played, particularly in the first half, because all the focus was on how abject Warrington had been.
There was some terrible.
The thought
defence.
watching
That Keenan Brand, I feel sorry for him because he was on debut, but that first try, I think.
the thought watching.
I don't know what he was trying to do. He just sort of threw
Well,
an arm.
he probably got overexcited at making his debut for.
Well, he
Warrington. It was
did
his
rush
big
off the
chance.
line and leave a massive hole.
Yeah, which they won't have done in training. It will have just been.
But that's what I mean. I mean, individual errors.
But you can
that
cover
game.
for that because that happened very early in the game. So you go
But it
6-0
kept, not
behind.
saying just from him, but from other players, it kept happening.
What you thought watching them was there are square pegs and round holes in that team, and that it didn't gel. Now Austin needs his hands on the ball a lot, and Widdop needs to be involved a lot, and Ratchford needs to be involved a lot. And how do you fit all that together? Did they actually need to buy Gareth Widdop?
No, I don't know. I don't think that, well, they need. Well,
And he might
if
turn
they
up
played
kick-
Deck Patton
kicking the
every week,
right
would have
goal.
been going, why the hell is Deck Patton playing? They need someone else.
Yeah, so if you've got the option.
They needed someone, but I also, Scully will always talk about partnerships. And I just think they needed someone to play second fiddle to Austin. And said, if he says we're doing this, we're doing this. You do what he says. And when he says you
Which
do something,
basically
you do it.
says they've then got to play Widdop at fullback, which he's quite adept at.
Stefan Ratchford was playing really well at half.
Absolutely.
Stefan Ratchford is a bloody good rugby player. And he'd be in my England squad as well, just purely because if you played him at prop, he'd do you a good half a
So
half a game.
was the mistake that Price didn't play Ratchford and Austin as his halves and put Widdop in a...
I think Widdop and Austin need more time because Widdop missed probably half the pre-season with injury. I think they need more time together.
Do you think it'll come good?
I don't know if it will come good, but I think they do need more time. The worrying thing is though, it wasn't just the halves. That was right across the board. The forwards, defensively, they just look a team short. I mean, they absolutely dominated St Helens. So like, what's happened to that team?
That's what I mean. What's happened?
I don't like. And even round one, when they were beat, they played pretty well.
What Steve Price said, which is exactly the same as Ian Watson has said about Salford, is he thinks perhaps his team might have fallen in love with themselves after those first 2 weeks. That we don't need to do it now because we know we can do it, but you have to do it. And I don't know that Ben Murdoch still started off the season
he was playing really well last couple of rounds,
But again, he wasn't quite the dominant. It wasn't like the Catalan forwards that you were talking about, or Hull in the early part of the season.
If you were that Leeds player, you might disagree.
But he didn't even get cited for that, which is, I think there is an element of saying the yellow card was absolutely right because it wasn't intentional. He slipped into it. Yeah. So, and I think, but again, you'd have expected that to come up on a disciplinary chart. We've at least looked at it, and we've issued a caution. You've got to be a bit more careful with your technique.
But the thing with that Warrington
team... if it'd have pushed you when you're going for a kick, 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
And they rightfully got 10. But something isn't right. I mean, Darryl Clark was criticising his fellow players afterwards, saying that,
And he's injured, I think.
He is, he came off with an ankle injury. And he's the heartbeat of the side. But he needs others. Luther Burrell's an odd one at the moment as well, because they really need him to succeed. And I'm not sure they know where his best position. Do they bring him on after 65 minutes and play him in the centre?
Is he a better rugby league player than Harvey Livett? I don't think he is. but yet they've shipped over the
What I don't
and he's playing
understand
20
as well
minutes here and there.
is Warrington always seem to buy. Now, some of those are players with potential, like Matty Ashton or Keenan Brandon. You know, you can make an allowance on a kid's debut.
Oh, look, it was
First
a tough
time he's
debut.
played
Yeah.
at that level. But if they've got an issue, they buy. You know, where are the Warrington youngsters
No, I agree, and
coming through?
they spend a lot of money as well
A lot
at
of
that
money.
level. I know
And
I've spoken to people at academy level that they try sign players and they all go to Warrington.
Well, we
Because
saw
they get paid more money.
Louis Johnson
I was
picked
gonna say
up
that,
from
like,
Castleford,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but he can barely get in the team.
Yeah.
I know he was on the bench this
Walk
week.
out
but-
from Widnes.
Well,
Yeah.
you know,
So on.
but yet they'll play Josh Thewlis when they've got an injury crisis. There was a 17-year-old who's coming through their system.
Well,
Not
this
seeing
is
them
this is the same point that I've made at Hull. Where are their young kids? Why aren't they got any young kids playing? They don't play. They don't play a big part. I know there's a fashion Matongo will get on the bench, but when they're fully
Connor
fit,
win last year, but
when
yeah,
they're fully fit,
fit, no.
they're nowhere near. And this is the point you make with Wayne. Gives kids a debut, and if they play well, they stay in.
Well, Wigan, St Helens, Leeds build
Yeah.
their success
Yeah.
around local
Yeah.
talent, which will make mistakes.
Yeah.
You gotta put it in and sometimes allow it to make those mistakes, but then maybe withdraw the player for a couple of weeks. And I would side because I see them more than any other team. Something like Mikolaj Aledzki, who was clearly overplayed last year, but started the season. Cameron Smith. They've been allowed
Cameron
to
Smith,
come-
he's playing
It's
really.
funny, Cameron Smith. If you put him in his right position, he's actually quite a good player. Isn't he?
and give him responsibility and tell him
Well, I
what his
remember
role is.
people saying when he played at Stone, oh, he's rubbish. Well, he's not
He's not
standing
standing
off. Yeah, he's not standing
But
off.
what those teams, particularly Wigan, probably more than anybody else, because they've won the Academy League, was it 9 out of the last
I
10
think
years? And
Every year since 1932.
Saints are never far behind them. They actually give those kids the chance. Yeah, well, you've mentioned Jack Wellsby, haven't you? That
Yeah.
he's clearly you just need to watch him, and he's an immensely talented player.
It's not
But
a
there-
fullback.
But there are
He's
some
not a fullback.
no,
but
but
he's
there are
doing
some
it.
edges in his game that will need to be knocked off. But
But
Saints
is he going to
aren't
be better for
saying.
playing now? Yeah, he is.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But
it's money in the
where are,
bank.
where are the Warrington players?
No, I
who are
agree.
coming
It's
through
like
that
that.
system?
And it's those that give youth a chance will succeed longer term.
And if you're going to lose
that don't.
36-0, give some young kids the experience of what it's like to play.
Look
at
at
the top
Huddersfield.
level.
They've done it. They had
Yeah.
to put the kids in when they got all them injuries, and look at them now. They're
I
good
think-
players.
With Warrington, they've got big name players on big contracts. They're not performing.
Yeah. And I reckon
So,
it comes in
do you
element.
drop-
They go in the
you
dressing room,
drop-
well, he's not doing it.
Yeah,
He's on
you
twice
drop
what
them.
I'm on, so why am I bothering?
But
And
no,
he's not
but if
getting
you're Steve
called
Price, you're going, all right, well, you're dropped. I'll bring in players who will perform. They've got a
But
big
can he
squad.
do that now? He's down. He'll have to go with his tried and tested because he
Well,
has to win. If they lose this week, he's in trouble.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
Or he
Yeah,
has
yeah.
to make an example of a couple of them to show that
Yeah.
he means business.
We've been asked why this week is Steve Price in trouble if they lose. Because if you look at the league table, they've lost. Is it
Because-
5 of 6?
Because they've only won 3 out of 15 games in
Yeah.
the Super League. They won the Challenge Cup, which was one of the great
I think he has
performances at
still-
Wembley. The problem they've got is that's relegation form, 3
Yeah,
out of 15.
it is.
Not winning away for
Since
8
July.
matches.
Yeah.
You know, at any other club, people will be. It's almost like the cup win sort
They've
of
scored
masks a bit of that.
69 points in 5 games. That's 12 points a game.
And I think it's how they're playing at the moment as well. They don't look cohesive. They're not. They weren't in that game on Friday.
Oh no, they were not in it at all.
Well, if they turn up with 52-12 on Friday and then they go into the top 5 and
Yeah.
people go, all right, it's a blip. But it's a blip that's lasting a long time. And they look to me to be playing all right until they changed it. And it hasn't looked the same. So, I mean, look, we saw how bad Toronto were on Friday, Saturday. They nearly beat Warrington.
They did, yeah.
You know,
That was not a good performance by Warrington at all.
So even the wins of take the St Helens result out of it, it's very much
That
that's
was,
the anomaly.
I
that
think
happens, isn't it?
more interesting than perhaps maybe the score against Cass, and I think because it's at home, there will be added pressure on Steve Price. There shouldn't be, because I think he's got to 3 of the 4 finals that he could possibly have got to.
He's also coaching with a blank checkbook.
I think what he needs to do is it's his team selection rather than the way his team played. The result this week, and does he have the respect of all of those around him that he can turn around to a really established player and say, look, there's stats, you're not doing it, and I need to bring a young kid in because I've got to use you as an example. That I'm serious about what we're trying to achieve here.
It's a brave man that does that when you lose.
Absolutely.
A brave man that
But
does
I
that
think
when you're losing.
I think that might be what he needs to do with a couple of players.
Here's a question, and this is a question I always ask myself when people say XYZ coach out. Who's coming in? Who are you going to appoint?
Well, that's it.
Who's
Someone
out
pointed
there?
me, Shane Flanagan. Shane Flanagan's not coming
No.
to Super.
He doesn't
I mean,
need
he's
to-
just joined St
he
George
doesn't need to
Illawarra,
rebuild his
assistant
career.
coach. His family's in Australia. No, I mean, and also he's a coach who was sacked. Well, he was sacked and he was deregistered for being incredibly dodgy. So why would you?
Well, and
bring him in?
it's clear that
There was a
if,
That's
pep
where the
time
dumping
scandal
ground- where the
running
dumping
in his
ground.
club that he somehow had no knowledge of.
but
I
it's
mean, come
also
on.
clear that if St George don't start doing it early on in the season, he will be the head coach of St George.
If you were Paul McGregor, you'd be worried about him
Yeah.
white-handing in the
Yeah.
background massively. Yeah. But I mean, who is actually out there?
Who are the
Either in
outside
England
coaches
or in
the
Australia.
Championship?
Sean Wayne,
Well, he's not.
Not going to go to Warrington.
no.
He'll be waiting for the whole job.
And also, he's England coach. I don't think.
But
he
the
would.
whole thing about him being the England coach is it a full-time job? Because I'm sure if he was offered a Super League job, he would
Yeah.
still be the England
It's
coach.
not a full-time job, but I don't think Sean Wayne's the kind of guy
No,
who
but
would be able to,
He's
you know.
I think
do
with what
both.
they've got coming up, Australia and the World,
And the World
Cup,
Cup,
I think
that's
it
enough.
should
Yeah,
be a full-time
yeah.
job for
But
him.
I'm saying there are people there that you could, you know, Simon Moran rings you up and says, "There's a blank checkbook. I want you to come and coach my team." You get quite a few.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
candidates.
who would be, you know?
The coach of London under-18s who beat St Helens.
Yes.
That's who it should be.
Rob Powell.
He's had the gig, hasn't he?
Who's out there? It's all right saying
There's
sack
always somebody.
XYZ.
There,
Yeah, but is that a better, as Rich was saying, is that a better option than what they have now? That's the thing.
well, was Steve Price the best option on the market? Well, no, he was the guy that they identified with the most potential. So there might well be an Adam O'Brien type coach in, you know, the ones that keep getting linked, but clearly there seems to be Jason Demetriou, for example.
Who's
always-
already got
but
the
he
job
now
in
is
mind. Yeah.
secure.
Adam
But
O'Brien
there-
is at the
but there'll
Knights.
be somebody
Justin
out
Holbrook
there.
is at Gold
There'll
Coast.
be somebody that, you know.
Yeah, well,
Oh, of course there will.
here's Tim, Andrew Henderson, Lee Breers, Andy says John Keir. There you go. There's some names for you.
Well, both those, the first two there, well,
they're-
haven't coached at Super League.
And
level,
they're
have
there.
they? Well, that's it. They're part of the existing staff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ben West.
Look, if they win this week and win well,
Well, yeah.
it'll be, you know, next week's chip paper, won't it?
I'm not sure it's
I
about
just think the
winning.
fact
I'm
that-
sure it's about playing.
I
this
think the fact that even the broadcasters are starting to ask questions about it now.
Mm.
The pressure's there. The pressure's
Well,
there.
they
It
did.
ain't
They,
gonna go
they
away
did
until
end the
he wins.
season terribly. They had
They
a
did.
massive high in Challenge Cup final, and even before that, it went downhill
fell
fast.
off
the semi-final who were great, the final who were great.
Yeah.
Most of what went between those two after it and
Mm.
after the first 2 weeks of this season, the following three have not been good.
But similarly enough with them is Hull. Let's not forget the 13 games in a row for Hull. You know,
All as annoying as yesterday would have been, they were all right for an hour. They were all
well,
right.
they've not been. Although
Kelly went all right.
it was Warrington who beat them by 80, wasn't it? But they've not been beaten
No.
by a big score.
Nah,
Yeah.
they
Well, they were at Magic. That was
Yeah.
probably their low point.
yeah,
Yes.
But I just
That was a while ago.
the expectation is there. You know, Scott Taylor said it, so it was a must-win game today. You think I actually said, "Well, you're only 5 games. How can
Yeah.
it be a must-win game? You're only 5 games in." No, we had to win today.
I think it was
And that-
criminal, wasn't it?
That'll be the pressure now on when Lee Rafford said there will be a cow pat of a pitch at Bellevue on Friday. A cow pat of a pitch, he said. We've been looking after the pitch as well.
No, it's not my job.
Which is
I've
getting
got-
out the
I've got-
cows.
I've got to check it on
Yes,
Thursday.
Rich,
yeah.
go and put the cows on the field.
Yeah.
It's been raining. We got,
It's sunny today. What are you talking
it's been raining. Well, you know, Lee Radford's got his own council-built pitch, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see.
I think it's interesting. We do rush to judgment too quickly.
How did the Twitter poll end up?
The Twitter poll,
Yeah.
Steve Price.
Steve Price
He
is
gone.
was it?
Yeah,
He's gone.
48.7%.